The 727 was aviation's missing link, and the airlines loved it. Boeing shipped at 500 within the first 5 years of production. The plane carried just as many passengers as the 707, but could reach the parts of the world no other jet could reach. New routes sprung up overnight. From Tonga to Timbuktu, wherever you wanted to fly, there was finally a jet that could take you there. Bad news for Skegness and Blackpool, because for the first time it put package holidays abroad within the reach of you and me. In the 1970s, Boeing could boast that somewhere in the world, a 727 was taking off or landing every 7 seconds. Now it's time to find out for myself just what this aeroplane can do. The 727's getting on a bit now, and you're hard pushed to find them in Europe, but in the Florida Everglades, I tracked down a cargo company who still fly them. Captain Gary Walsh offered to put the plane through its paces. When we take off, we're going to see just how much runway this aeroplane needs to get airborne. It was my first time in a 727 cockpit, and hearing those 3 Pratt & Whitney engines spooling up, I was itching to leave the ground. Okay, he's running up the engines to maximum power. Takeoff thrust is set. We're hurtling down the runway. Feel that acceleration. That's 80 knots, passing 80 knots now. Well, that's around about 2/3 of a mile, and we are rotating. That's a mile of runway, that's 5,000 feet. We were off way before that. And we're passing 500 feet now. We get an altitude alert, things climbing like a homesick angel. And that is a takeoff in a 727. 5,000 foot runways. This thing was off it, leapt off like a scalded cat at, with about 4,000 feet, with 1,000 feet left to go. That's a pretty thrilling experience. And it was about to get even more thrilling. We'd reached our cruising height when Gary offered me the controls.
Okay, Bruce, let me know when you're ready. You've got it.
Okay, give it a go.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I have control.
You've got it.
With alligators massing below me in the Everglades, it was reassuring to know I had 45,000 pounds of thrust strapped to the tail. This plane handles absolutely beautifully. I mean, I'm flying this airplane now. It's going around the corner like it's on rails. In fact, the only thing stopping it handling like a train is me pushing and pulling on it and messing it all up. It's wonderful. What a heavenly aeroplane. Mr. Boeing does build them good. After my experience in the 707 simulator, getting behind the controls of a real 727 was like discovering power steering. You're a bucket of sweat doing this in the 707, but I don't think I'd like to do this in a 707. At about a 45-degree angle of bank here or thereabouts. In this aeroplane, you just have so much confidence. I'm just tickling the power a little bit. The steeper the angle of bank, the more this aeroplane seems to like it. It's, I wouldn't like to press the point and go much further, but it really is a spectacularly balanced aeroplane. Can't talk to you too much, because I'm a bit busy flying it, but if I just turned around and had a massive, great Cheshire grin on my face, that's what it's like. See what I've done? I've got up 100 feet whilst I've been talking to you.
Bruce has got a real good handle on this. He's doing a very good job for a new guy in the 7.2.
First Officer Dickinson was doing so well that Gary suggested I keep control for the landing.
It's like he's been in this for 100 years.
Good job he hasn't seen my 707 sim landing.
Okay, gear down
Get out.
and landing tip.
Okay, so we're going to go with landing flap or just leave it at this?
And we got landing flaps.
Okay,
Oh,
we
this is
got
a lot of different.
So having been at the controls for just 20 minutes, I'd been given the most difficult job of all, putting this beautiful bird back on terra firma.
Full stop, that's it.
With any jet, you never want to get low and slow, but in a 727, with all that weight on the tail, nailing the speed is vital.
Left downwind, and we're going to be turning.
No wonder our engineer looks nervous. There's a real technique to landing these 7.2s. It's so long, the front of the plane is still flying when the back has touched down. First, you have to land the rear wheels, and then you gently fly the nose wheel down.
Oh, gee, this is humiliating. He does a good job.
Mission accomplished.
That's idle thrusts, idle reverse. Bring them right back up.
I'd be happy to own up to that landing. In fact, if a good landing's one you can walk away from, I think I'd have a little bit of a spring in my step.
Perfect.
That's 80 knots.
Okay, I've got it.
You have control. 60 knots. And that is me losing my landing virginity on a 727. And you know what? That airplane stopped. I never touched the brakes. I didn't even use them. That's how good this airplane is. Boeing got it so right with this airplane that when production stopped in 1984, they'd broken all the records. They sold nearly 2,000 727s. Over 40 years on from its first flight, half of them are still in service today. So, if anyone's got a spare 727 they need flying, I'm your man. With the 727, Boeing looked unbeatable, so the Europeans prepared to play their supersonic card. But in Seattle, they were counting on what millions of women already know. Size matters.